see. This interview is taking place on November the 24th, 1993, and I'm interviewing my father, Milton Roth. And why don't we start out by telling us when you were born?
July 5th, 1918.
Okay, and where were you born?
Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn? Were you born in a hospital?
Yeah, but I don't know which one.
You don't know which one?
No.
You forgot, huh?
Yeah.
Huh, that's unusual.
Yeah.
So where were your parents living at the time?
They're living on, see if I can remember, Vernon Avenue? Yeah, Vernon Avenue. In Brooklyn.
What section of Brooklyn is that?
I guess that would be, maybe close to Williamsburg today. Yeah.
Williamsburg?
Yeah.
I see. Do you know what address was it?
I don't remember the
Yeah.
address.
No?
But I know my father's business was a couple of blocks away. And that's why they picked that area.
Was he in the cigar business then?
Wholesale cigar business.
So, was he, what was his job? Mainly to go around and try to sell to cigar dealers?
Yeah, right.
So he was spending most of his time on the road?
No, he didn't. He wasn't a traveling salesman. He'd go out every day and come home again.
Right.
He was a traveling salesman before he was married.
Oh, really?
Because then he sold pipes.
Pipes?
Yeah.
You mean for construction?
No, pipes to
smoke.
smoke.
For smoking. For smoking.
Smoking, tobacco, you know.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. So when did he start his business?
I think it was 1923.
So when you were a young boy.
That's right.
So you remember working in your father's place?
Not in that place.
No?
No. I remember working when he was on Patchen Avenue, also in Brooklyn. And that was like the Bedford-Stuyvesant section.
Well, when did he move?
I don't remember. I was very small.
I see. But when he moved the business to Bedford-Stuyvesant, did you move also, or?
We moved also. We lived. The business was on Patchen Avenue, and we lived around the corner on McDonald Street.
But do you know?
Oh, Decatur Street. Decatur Street.
Do you know how old you were when?
No.
But you remember?
I was of school age.
So you remember moving?
I don't remember moving.
No?
I remember that we moved. But I don't remember the actual moving.
I see. Okay. And so what was life like in your house when you were a kid?
Well, I had a brother and a sister, and I don't believe my mother ever helped out in a store, but she lived right around the corner, and my father was gone most of the day. He didn't stay inside. He was always outside. And we had my Uncle Joe worked as a salesman also in the business, and then we had a salesman, Jim McGuire, who worked out on the island, Nassau, Suffolk County.
Well, what did you do on the weekends?
Weekends? I know mostly we visited my grandparents. One in Washington Heights, my mother's parents, and the other one on Lee Avenue, my father's parents.
Lee Avenue was in Brooklyn?
In Brooklyn. That's where the Sutner Jews lived there, the Hasidic Jews. Yeah.
Was that a religious area at that time too?
Not quite Hasidic, but it was Orthodox.
I see.
It got Hasidic later.
And your grandparents were Orthodox too, right?
Oh, positive. My father's parents were Orthodox.
Right.
I'm not so sure my mother's parents were Orthodox.
So did you go with them when they went to with your grandparents to the synagogue? Or?
I don't remember that.
No.
All I remember is my father's father. The only remembrance I have of him, he always sat in the corner of the room. He never said hello when I came in. He never said goodbye when I left.
He never did?
Never said a word. He was studying.
But he never said hello to you at all?
Never.
So
he was a reticent man, just sat in a corner, never had any conversations with me or anything else.
How about your grandmother? Did she say anything?
Oh yeah, she did. And as you say, she was Orthodox, but when I brought your mother to meet her, I brought her up the first time, they got in a great conversation, and you know, your mother was always interested in religion, but she wasn't exactly Orthodox. My grandmother was Orthodox, but my grandmother gave the advice to your mother, you don't have to be so Orthodox.
So she
You imagine a real Orthodox woman, but she gave Mom the advice that you should be religious, but you shouldn't be that Orthodox.
So she was probably sorry that she had been so Orthodox.
I don't think she was sorry, but she just felt for the younger generation.
It was better not to.
Yeah.
So did your grandfather talk with your father?
I don't believe so.
No?
Not that I can remember. I don't believe he talked to anybody. Anytime I ever saw him, he was studying the Chumash or some Jewish book. And in fact, I remember thinking that, what else did he do all day? I never saw him get up to go to the bathroom or anything. He always was in that one spot, near the window, so he had some light. And that was it.
So do you know if your grandfather talked to your father when he was little?
He may have.
Yeah.
But as far as my recollection, he didn't.
I see. So you visited them when, on Sunday?
Sunday, right.
And you visited your other grandparents on Saturday?
Sometimes. Mostly Sunday.
You visited them both on Sunday?
Pretty much.
Did you have a car that you used?
Oh yeah, my father always had a car. Well, he had a car for business, so he had a car for business. He used it on the weekend.
I see. So how about your other grandparents?
My other grandfather was exactly the opposite. He was a talker, and he liked conversation. And my grandfather, and my father was very reticent. He didn't talk that much. And my grandfather would get very aggravated with him. You know, he'd want to start a conversation, and it never got any place. And I remember one time in desperation, he says to my father, in order to get him to talk, and they were talking about something, he said, okay, I'll tell you what, he says, you take any side you want, and I'll take the other side, just to get him talking. And so that was my other grandfather.
I think Uncle Herbie told me once that he thought that, this was Isaac Berman, right?
No? Oh yeah, my mother's father, yeah.
Your mother? Oh.
My mother's father.
Oh, who was the one that lived on Washington Heights? That was your mother's father, right. I think Uncle Herbie said at one time, I think he said that he thought that Isaac Berman was a real visionary, that he had the idea that one day they would build a bridge across the Hudson River, and many years later they built the bridge. And
I don't remember that.
No?
What I remember, he marveled at everything.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever noticed, but when you go toward Washington Heights, heading toward the George Washington Bridge, what's the name of that highway that goes lower down?
Oh.
The Harlem River Drive or something? And you look up, you see a water tower. And he used to take me on a walk to this water tower, and he'd marvel at the leaves, and he'd marvel at the birds, he'd marvel how come the water tower didn't fall down. Wow. How come it stood still like that all the time, and the earth didn't crumble and everything went down? He just marveled at nature all the time.
How about his wife?
Well, his wife was a very nice woman. She was moderate in everything and very loving. And I remember when I brought your mother to meet her, at that time she had a stroke, and one side of her body was immobile. And I remember sitting there, she stood there at the stove with a big, heavy frying pan. I guess you would need 2 hands to lift it up. That's how heavy this frying pan was. And she made latkes for your mother with one hand and one side.
So was she very talkative?
Well, she was talkative, normally talkative. Not as talkative as my grandfather, but the one thing I can remember is I'm making the latkes for your mother when I brought her up to visit.
I see. So, were they religious?
I guess they were religious, yeah.
Yeah. How about your parents?
My parents, they weren't that religious.
No?
No. Well, what do you mean by religious?